Well, we sure got our share of rain last night. I mean, it started raining yesterday, kind of sprinkling on and off. But in the last night, there was thunder, and it rained, it poured all night long. So again, my yard looks like Minnesota, land of lakes. My culvert pipe is running full bore. There's been times where it's come across the driveway, but it didn't this time. But as you saw, my whole wetland down front is flooded. One good thing though, the roads are completely rinsed off, so I can go riding again, and I'm going to do that. But today I wanted to just talk a little bit, and I was thinking about a time when I was out in Sturgis. Now, if you've ever been to Sturgis, you know the Sturgis Rally, I should say, because Sturgis is one of the cities. The main city there is Rapid City, South Dakota, but Sturgis is a little bit north of Rapid City. And there's also a bunch of surrounding towns or small burgs, Spearfish and Deadwood and Keystone, and they kind of surround the area. And even further out, the one thing that you'll find if you go to the Sturgis Rally, doesn't matter where you go, where you ride to, you can ride into Wyoming, and you're still going to see biker stuff related to the rally. So any vacant parking lot is up for grabs, and they'll have, tents set up with different vendors, some selling t-shirts, some offering oil changes for your bike, different things like that, accessories. But a lot of the companies will set up a tent and have their display there. The motorcycle dealers, the bike builders. So I was out riding the one day, and I was going to ride Spearfish Canyon, which, is a canyon, and the road snakes down into the canyon, and it's a real good twisty road, and it's a real popular ride for a lot of bikers there. But I came to the town of Spearfish, and I thought, well, I'll stop there in town there and see what they have to offer. And one of the displays that was set up in the parking lot was this Boss Hoss motorcycles. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of them before, but they're the ones that make the big bikes with the V8 engines in them. Yeah. So, I thought, well, this is interesting, because I have seen some of those on the road, but, it was my first time for actually seeing the Boss Hoss motorcycle display that they had, and actually seeing one up close and in person. So this one bike they have there, the V8 in it, a 454 small block V8. I think that thing puts out 563 horsepower. That's crazy. I mean, that's a lot of horsepower to put between your legs. I think it had like an 8.5 gallon gas tank, and they said it ran about 16 miles a gallon. Well, I think like most, vehicles will tell you what their mile per gallon is, you always get less. So in other words, you'd be lucky to go maybe 100 miles before you have to fill that 8.5 gallon gas tank up again. I suppose it has a lot to do with the way you ride it too. If you're going to get on it, it's going to suck a lot more fuel. But a V8 engine is going to use a lot of fuel, especially a 454 small block. Yeah. Now he starts it up and it sounds incredible. It's got that V8 engine rumble to it, and he says, "I'll let you take it for a ride. It's a demo." He says you can go ahead and ride, take it out for 15, 20 minutes if you want. Just bring it back and see how you like it. So I straddle over and sit on the thing, and I mean, I'm practically doing the splits because I've got this V8 engine between my legs, not to mention this gas tank that's as wide as a football field. And I'm grabbing these handlebars, And he said, so he says, okay, now, when you take off, just be kind of careful on the throttle, because he said this thing has like massive torque, and the back wheel, I mean, was as wide as a car tire, or wider. I mean, this thing was like wide. And he says the problem is, if you're going into a turn and you give it the throttle, he says it'll want to bounce back up straight again, and you'll end up running off the road or hitting a curb or something. So I sat on the thing, and it's rumbling between my legs, and I just reached up and shut it off, and I climbed off the thing, and I said, you know what? I think I'll take a ride another day. I said, I'm just not quite sure about this. For one thing, that's a heavy, heavy bike, when you got a V8 engine between your legs. But, it's like any other thing. If you keep that center of balance there and you don't lean it over too far one way or the other, you'll be all right. But I guess the thing that kind of worried me was the torque and the way he said it handled. He said, this thing will handle a little different than a typical motorcycle. He said it's almost more like a trike, and when you go to corner with it, you just got to be real careful. So that intimidated me, and I decided not to ride the thing. I really had no inclination to ever go back and try to ride it again either. I've never done any of those demo rides on new bikes. A lot of these biker companies, they'll have demo where you can decide which bike you want to take for a ride, and they'll have like a little route that goes around maybe a mile or two that you can take the bike around and then come back to the dealership. I've never done that. I was going to do it one time, and I think it was for BMW. I thought, well, I want to try one of these BMWs. This seems like a pretty cool bike. But there was a line, and it was like over an hour wait to take the bike around for 1 mile. And I said, you know what, I am not sitting around here for an hour to wait for that. I'll just enjoy riding my own bike. So no, I've never done any of the demos. Anyway, it kind of leads me to wonder sometimes, how much power do you need on your motorcycle? I guess some guys have that need for speed, that need for torque, rip your arms off kind of a thing when you give it the gas. I don't. I'm content with mine. I have the 80 cubic inch Evo, which I think now you can't even get the 80 inch. I think it's a 90 cubic inch now, and it did have the option to come with a 90 cubic inch, but the particular model that I bought had the 80 cubic inch, and I just went ahead and bought it. And I've been very happy with it, because I haven't had to do hardly any heavy maintenance on the motor itself, other than just some of the outside things like the carburetor and the starter. But the motor itself, I've been told a couple times, Itchy, you need to rebuild your top end, your engine's past due for a top end, and I've never done that either. But I really haven't had to. I mean, the thing starts right up. It purrs like a kitten. It runs down the road. It's got enough power for me. It's not going to yank my arms off, but it does get me up in the wind, and I mean, it sails right down the road. I can do 80, 90 mile an hour on this, no problem, which I don't do commonly because I value my life, and at my age, with my reflexes being a little slower, I try to keep my speed down, not to mention I don't want a ticket. Anyways, yesterday, I gotta tell you this one. I saw an ad that popped up online, and it was for a new restaurant in town. I think it was called something like Bob's Badass Burgers and Chicken. So I thought, oh, okay. And they had pictures, their burgers, and they were these great big honking juicy things with all the cheese and the sauce running down, bacon sticking out the sides, and onion rings and everything. And you know me, I'm a sucker for a good burger. So I said to myself, well, I got to go try that out. I'm always game for something new. And if there's a new restaurant in town and those burgers look pretty mouth-watering, I'm going to go try it. So yesterday I ran into town. I picked up a prescription, and then I pulled up the address for this new place, and I knew exactly where it was. And I get there, it's in this little plaza. But when I get there, it's the original Philadelphia cheesesteak. And I pulled right up to the front of the place. There was nobody else there. And I'm looking, and it says, okay, original Philadelphia cheesesteak. And they had pictures on the windows there of their cheesesteak sandwiches, but nothing about this badass burgers. I checked my phone again. I pulled it up and I look in the checked the address, and sure enough, the address is exactly the same. So I walk in, and there was only one guy behind the counter. There was nobody in the restaurant itself. It was just one of these little plaza type, not a full restaurant, but some booths on the side, maybe a little counter where you could sit at. And he says, "Yeah, can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I thought this was the badass burger place." And he goes, "Yeah, it is." And I said, "Well, I'm not seeing a menu. All I see is, original cheesesteak." And he goes, "Yeah, well, the Badass Burger is a virtual restaurant, and you can only order that online through DoorDash." I was like, "But do you make those burgers here?" Yep, we make them here." So I can't come in and buy one. I have to go home and order it and have them deliver it. Yeah, that's pretty much the way it works. I said, all right. And I'm kind of standing there kind of befuddled because, I'm not real familiar with these virtual restaurants. And he goes, "I can make one for you if you want." I said, "You can make me a badass burger right now." He goes, "Yeah, sure." Okay. So I said, "Well, make me this black and blue burger or whatever." So he says, "All right, it'll be a couple minutes." And then he hands me the bag and says, "There you go." So I went out to my truck and headed home, and I'm just thinking, oh, what the heck just happened there? A virtual restaurant? I guess I'm out of the loop. I wasn't aware of such things, but I guess it's becoming more common these days for these things to pop up where it's a virtual address. Like, you can't go there to eat. It's carry out only or delivery only, I guess. I'm like, what is this country coming to? What are they going to think of next? Anyway, I got home and I opened up the burger, and of course, it didn't look anything like the picture that I saw. It was okay. It was an okay burger. It wasn't something that I would rave about and that I would tell all my friends about, and that I would want to order online again. To be honest with you, I think I'd prefer a Whopper instead. Anyway, yeah, I'm old. I'm out of the loop. All these newfangled things come up. The other thing happened to me last night too. Technology. Oh, I hate technology. Well, I got this new TV, and it has Netflix on there. And so it was later in the evening. I sat down and I turned my TV on. I thought, I'll watch a Netflix movie because I got nothing else to do. So I opened up Netflix, and it comes up like normal, and I click on the movie. and it said, sorry, we can't play this selection right now. Try again later. So I went to another movie and I clicked on that. Sorry, we can't play this selection. I was like, what the heck? So there's some shows or like series that I've been watching. And so I clicked on one of those. Sorry, we can't play this selection right now. Try again later. Okay, something's up here because everything I clicked on, it wouldn't play. So I started researching online, and what's going on here, and I went to the settings and I checked my network connections, and everything was connected. Everything was good. It said everything's hooked up, everything's working properly. I ran the test thing, and it said, yeah, everything's fine. So I was confused. Well, this window pops up, and what did it say? Pixel refresher. Yes or no? Well, like a dummy, I click yes, and my TV shuts down, and it starts going through this pixel refresher program. And I'm like, uh-oh, what did I just do? So I get on my phone, and I look online, and I go, what the heck is pixel refresher? And of course it said, don't do this unless it's necessary. Number one, don't push that button unless you absolutely have to. And number two, it takes up to 3 hours to go through the pixel refreshing. And each time you do pixel refreshing, you can lose some quality in your TV. So I was panicked at that point. And it said, to stop it, just shut your TV down. So real quick, I shut it down and I restarted the TV back up again. And wouldn't you know it, that's all I needed to do, because then my Netflix was working like it should have been. All I had to do was restart the TV. Somehow a little glitch got in there and it wouldn't let me watch any Netflix shows. But yeah, I fixed it. Pretty proud of myself. But boy, what a frustration it is with this new technology these days, I'm watching videos too about guys that are buying these brand new Harleys, and they don't even go, 2,000 miles, and they start having problems with them where they got to go back to the shop again, because like one Harley will have like 3 or 4 different computers in it for different functions. And it's like one little thing goes wrong and it affects the whole system. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'll just stick with my old Evo. Simple. There's no computer in it. It's just carbureted, and it runs like it should, and I know I'm not going to have those kind of issues with it. Oh, boy. Well, thanks for listening to me today. I appreciate your support. If you like my video, hit the thumbs up button. It'll help to push my ratings up a little bit, and I would really appreciate that. If you haven't yet, subscribe and continue to go on this ride with me. I'm going to, one of these days here when I go out riding, I'm going to hook the camera up again and do some video with that too. But he's running a 4-wheeler. Not uncommon around here. But anyway, one of these days I'll get the camera back out and hook it up here and get some video of me actually going out and riding on this thing, enjoying the fine weather. Well, I'll keep you guys in my prayers, and keep me in your prayers as well. Till next time, cats, ride hard and die free.